My high school bully didn't recognize me in the interview. Then I revealed who I was. I, 35M, never expected to see that name on a job application. 15 years had passed, but my hands still trembled as I stared at the resume on my desk. The memories came flooding back, getting shoved into lockers, having my lunch thrown in the trash, and those endless taunts about my weight and secondhand clothes. But it wasn't just the physical stuff. They had this way of making every day feel like a nightmare, of turning the entire school against me until I was completely isolated. Now, here I was, director of operations at a tech startup I helped build from the ground up, and my high school tormentor wanted a job on my team. My first instinct was to delete the application. It would have been so easy. Just one click and I could get my petty revenge. The thought was tempting, I won't lie. I even hovered over the delete button for a good 5 minutes, remembering the day they orchestrated a school-wide birthday party for me where no one showed up except to point and laugh. I was 14, and it took me years to celebrate my birthday again after that. But something made me pause. The resume was impressive. MBA from a good school, solid experience at well-known companies, and glowing recommendations that spoke specifically about their leadership abilities and emotional intelligence. The kind of candidate we desperately needed for our expanding operations team. Our company had just secured Series B funding, and we were scaling faster than we could handle. Finding someone with this exact mix of skills had been like searching for a unicorn. I must have read that resume 50 times that day, trying to reconcile the qualified professional on paper with the teenager who had made my life hell. The references section kept drawing my eye. One was from a nonprofit focused on youth mentorship and anti-bullying initiatives. They'd been volunteering there for 6 years. I showed the application to my wife that evening, not mentioning the history. We were having dinner in our kitchen, the same way we always did on Wednesdays, with our kids already in bed. "This candidate looks perfect for the role," she said, scanning the qualifications. "You should definitely bring them in for an interview. She knows me better than anyone." Noticed my hesitation. "What's wrong?" "You've been looking for someone with exactly these qualifications for months." I almost told her everything then, but something held me back. Maybe I wanted to handle this on my own, or maybe I was afraid she'd tell me to take the high road when I wasn't sure I was ready to. Instead, I just nodded and said I'd sleep on it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my own kids. My daughter had just started middle school, and my son wasn't far behind. We'd already dealt with some minor bullying issues with my daughter, and I told her the same thing I wished someone had told me. That bullies often act out of their own pain, that it says more about them than you, that you shouldn't let their actions define your worth. Was I being a hypocrite if I couldn't practice what I preached? The next morning, I scheduled the interview. Our HR manager was thrilled. She'd been pushing this candidate from the moment their application came in. I spent the next week preparing, not just for the technical aspects of the interview, but for the emotional challenge of facing them again. That's how I found myself sitting across from my former bully in our office's glass-walled conference room. The years had changed both of us. They looked older, more worn down, nothing like the intimidating figure from my nightmares. Their suit was well cut, but slightly worn at the edges, and there was a wedding ring on their finger. They didn't recognize me at first, but I saw the exact moment it clicked. Their face went pale, and they gripped their portfolio so tight their knuckles turned white. I should go," they stammered, starting to stand. "This was a mistake." "Sit down," I said, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "You came here for an interview. Let's have one." What followed was the most surreal hour of my professional life. We discussed operations strategy, team management, and process optimization, all while dancing around the elephant in the room. They were articulate, knowledgeable, and their ideas for improving our supply chain were exactly what we needed. They talked about their experience building teams from scratch, handling difficult personalities, and creating inclusive workplace cultures. The irony wasn't lost on me. As the interview wound down, they finally addressed it. "Look, I know who you are," they said, voice cracking slightly. "What I did to you in high school, it was cruel and inexcusable. I've carried that shame for years. I'll withdraw my application. You shouldn't have to work with someone who hurt you like that." I sat there, processing their words. The bully from my memories and this person before me seemed like two different people. "Why did you do it?" I asked, the question that had haunted me for years. They took a deep breath, and for a moment, I saw vulnerability replace the professional facade. They told me about their home life. An alcoholic father who used his fists to communicate. A mother who pretended nothing was wrong, moving from school to school as their family ran from debt collectors. How they'd taken out their pain on others because it was the only way they knew to feel in control. They spoke about their rock-bottom moment in college, when they nearly got expelled for fighting and finally got into therapy. about learning to confront their past, understanding their actions, and working to become someone different. They told me about volunteering at anti-bullying programs, trying to prevent others from following their path, how they shared their story with kids, not to excuse their actions, but to show that change was possible. It wasn't an excuse, they emphasized, but an explanation they felt I deserved. I've thought about trying to find you to apologize, they admitted, but I figured you wouldn't want to hear from me. I wouldn't have blamed you. I thought about the scared kid I used to be and the man I'd become, about second chances and growth, about breaking cycles of pain, about my own kids and the world I wanted them to grow up in. The position needs to be filled by the end of the month, I said, gathering my papers. HR will be in touch about next steps. They looked stunned. You're still considering me? After everything? I'm considering the person in front of me today, I replied. Not who they were 15 years ago. 2 weeks later, they started as our new operations manager. I won't pretend it wasn't awkward at first. The team was initially skeptical. My former bully had a very different management style from their predecessor, but they proved themselves through actions, not words. They championed junior team members' ideas, handled conflicts with remarkable emotional intelligence, and brought a level of efficiency we'd been missing. The first few months were a learning experience for both of us. We had to establish new boundaries, figure out how to work together professionally while acknowledging our complicated past. There were moments of tension, times when old memories would surface unexpectedly, but we handled them like adults, with direct communication and mutual respect. 6 months in, we were having lunch in the break room when they mentioned their kid was being bullied at school. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. They spoke about the helplessness of watching their child go through something they had once inflicted on others. I shared some strategies that had helped my own daughter deal with similar issues. It was a surprisingly comfortable conversation, one that would have seemed impossible a year ago. As our working relationship evolved, I started to understand something profound about forgiveness. It wasn't about forgetting the past or excusing what happened. It was about choosing not to let those old wounds dictate your future actions. Every time I chose to treat them based on their present behavior rather than our history, I felt a little bit freer from that scared, lonely teenager I used to be. Yesterday, our company won a major industry award for operational excellence. As I watched them accept it on behalf of our team, I thought about how different things might have been if I'd given in to that initial urge for revenge. Instead, we both got something better. Redemption. They found a chance to prove they'd changed, and I found a way to turn an old wound into something constructive. The real surprise wasn't that they turned out to be excellent at their job. Their resume had already suggested that. The surprise was how working together helped us both heal from our shared past. They became not just a valuable employee, but someone I genuinely respected. We'll never be close friends, too much history there, but we found a way to be something equally valuable, two people who chose to break the cycle of hurt. I'm not saying everyone should hire their former bully. I'm not even saying forgiveness is always the right choice. Each situation is unique, and everyone has to find their own path to healing. But sometimes, the most unexpected situations give us a chance to break free from old pain and create something new. Our past shapes us, but it doesn't have to define us. My high school bully became one of my most valuable employees, and in the process, we both found a kind of healing we didn't know we needed. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's moving forward and creating something positive from the ashes of past pain. Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thanks for all the awards and supportive comments. To address some common questions, yes, this is a throwaway account for privacy reasons. No, I haven't told my team about our history. We both prefer to keep that in the past. And for those asking about my former bully's transformation, I've learned that people can genuinely change if they do the work to understand themselves and make amends. Sometimes the biggest challenge is giving them the chance to prove it. Edit 2. A lot of people are asking about how we handle our past with colleagues and whether it affects our professional relationship. We've agreed to keep our history private at work. It's better for everyone that way. And yes, there are still occasional awkward moments, but we deal with them professionally. The key has been maintaining clear boundaries and focusing on the present rather than the past. Also, to the people DMing me asking for advice about similar situations, while I appreciate your trust, every situation is different. What worked in my case might not work in yours. The important thing is to make decisions based on who people are now, not who they were years ago, but only if they've shown genuine change and growth. Trust your instincts, and don't feel pressured to forgive if you're not ready. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.